IVM.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. I'm your host this week, Ashwin, and we are very, very excited to be joined by yet another special guest. I'm going to give you some clues. She has played over 50 ODIs for India, over 50 T20s, taken over 110 combined wickets across formats for India, is currently ranked the number 8 ODI bowler in the world. And if you haven't figured it out yet, of course, I'm talking about the magnificent, swinging, seaming, quick bowler, Shikha Pandey. Shikha, thank you for being on the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for having me. And the pleasure is all mine. Also, I wish you could have just added that I've played 2 test matches to the intro that you gave, because I consider the fact that I've played test match to be one of the achievements of my cricketing journey. So, yes.
That is a great build. I saw that. I absolutely should have added that. And in fact, in your 110 combined wickets, I noticed that you took 4 wickets in those 2 test matches as well. So I have that in front of me, but absolutely right. Would love to talk to you more about test cricket, which we'll get to. But, you know, Shikha, we would love to first start by just learning a little bit more about your journey with the sport, your younger years. So tell our listeners a little bit about your journey. What made you pick up a cricket ball and a bat, but obviously eventually with more of a focus on the ball?
My life has not been any different from that of a kid growing up in India. I've been a 90s kid. My father was an avid cricket lover, and probably that's the reason why I started following and playing cricket. So I remember playing cricket as a 5-year-old kid. I used to play a lot of gully cricket, backyard cricket. And every day in the evenings, 4:30 to 6:37, I would be out playing with the guys. I had a few girls I used to play along. So it was probably my father. Because of his interest in cricket, I started being interested in cricket. So it was that. And the first memories I have of watching a game of cricket was the 96 World Cup. I remember we lost the semi-finals, but because then I did not really understand the game that well. I just understood that, you know, there were all talks of Sachin being there and all of that. So that's how I actually started playing cricket. A lot of cricket with gully cricket with boys, yes.
Very interesting. And so I want to ask you about the 96 World Cup. But when you started playing gully cricket first, did you find you had more of a flair with the bat, with the ball? You know, Jamima, when we talked to her, had some great stories about being a girl who would hit the boys out of the park and how that would rev her up. So what was it like for you playing with the boys in gully cricket?
I wouldn't say that, you know, I wouldn't get to bat or I was only a bowler. But then, yeah, I mean, I played a fair amount of cricket because the group was mostly of the same age. I played cricket purely because of the joy that the game gave me. I mean, I used to love going out and playing with the kids. Also, I used to own this wooden bat, the ball and the cricket set. So it was all mine. So every evening, I was the first one sought after. You know, they used to come to my house, ask me out, and then we would all play. So a lot of stories there, yes. The one story that I always remember, I was a huge fan of Sachin Tendulkar growing up. So I had MRF, you know, I had painted MRF onto my bat so that I could, you know, flaunt being a Sachin fan and everything. So I kind of borrowed watercolors from my sister and I did that. And a lot of memories. I mean, I used to imitate a lot of bowlers back then. I remember 99 World Cup, Azhar Mahmood. I used to imitate probably everyone that I could see. Daniel Vittori was another, a left-arm spinner. I used to bowl a lot of left-arm spin. Even when I started playing professionally, after finishing my bowling and batting, I would bowl a lot of left-arm spin in the nets. So a lot of stories there. I mean, I have had these, the first memory that I had properly of Sachin was the 98 Sharjah Cup that we played, the desert storm innings of his. Probably that's the first one that I remember understanding completely. So probably from there on, I started understanding cricket and following cricket. And then I started following the other players as well. So it's been that way for me, yes.
Yeah, wow, lots to unpack. Great stories. So just by way of reference, I'm probably just over a year older than you. So my brother Varun and I, who normally host this show together, also always say our first memory of cricket is 1996 and just being kind of that age group. So, but 1996, you know, you mentioned 98 later, but 1996 for the men's game was a pretty crushing blow, right? do you remember distinctly feeling the pain, or do you think you were a little bit too young at that point to
I was
internalize how difficult
I
it
was
was?
very young at that time, and
Yeah.
I remember two or three incidents wherein the older folks in my group would talk about, Sachin getting out early, and because of that we couldn't go on to win that semi-final game. And then a lot of fathers colleagues would come on and talk about how we were heavily dependent on Sachin and everything. I did not really understand cricket as much. It was just, if a game of cricket was going on and I had to choose between going out and playing and watching the sport, I would actually go out and play the sport. So I didn't really understand cricket that much. So it was the 98 Sharjah Cup, probably there on I started understanding cricket a lot better, and it was probably then on that I started following the game.
Very interesting. And then I want to ask you, because for us as fans of the game who've been watching your journey for the last 5-7 years internationally, you have that signature bowling action for us. But it sounds like when you were growing up, you were imitating actions from Mahmood to Vittori, etc. So A, do you still imitate actions when you're in the net sometimes, or do you now have your fixed technique? And then B, do you think your action was modeled on any one bowler in particular?
I do not really think my action was modeled on anyone. I don't know. From the time I started playing season ball cricket, which was very late, I took up the sport professionally and started training professionally under a coach when I was 18, I would say, which is too late for when you talk about how kids start training when they are 6 or 7 right now. So I wouldn't say that I modeled my action on anyone. It was just that I used to like Javed Srinath a lot when growing up, because probably at that time he was one of the leading medium pacers for India. And he's probably the only one with 300 plus ODI wickets for India. So he was an in-swinger, but I didn't really understand it that much. I just kind of started bowling, and probably because you hit, you miss, I hit, and that's how I started getting my wickets initially. And the action has kind of stuck from there on, yes.
Very, very interesting. So thanks for sharing that. So let's jump a little ahead. So you did say you started officially kind of training formally a little bit later, but I know, kind of at age 15 is when you started making your surge and started getting a little bit more noticed. So tell us a little bit about that journey as a late teenager. And, obviously, unlike many cricketers, including Sachin and folks, you made the choice to finish school, to finish college. You got an engineering degree. So talk us through those years of your life and the choices you made then.
Firstly, I like to call myself a pan-Indian. I'm a native of Uttar Pradesh. I was born in now Telangana, then Andhra Pradesh, a place called Ramagundam. And because of my father being a teacher, a central government teacher, he's a teacher in Kendra Vidyalaya Sangathan, he kept shifting base and we had to travel along with him. So there are a lot of things that my father wanted us to do. And the first was, to study hard. Probably because we have had humble background. He always said that you must study and you must finish your education. And it wasn't just that. He would allow us to do whatever interested us. I mean, all the other interests we were allowed to pursue. But then he said, my elder sibling is also a software engineer. So he made sure that, we study hard. So I was a 90 percentile in my 10th and my 12th. I was a science student. So like I said, other hobbies that we had was we used to read a lot. I mean, I have grown up reading a lot of Cricket Bharati, Cricket Samrat, any book that, I could get hold of, which was on cricket. I used to read a lot of Sports Star. I had a lot of posters, and probably that was my go-to magazine because it had very good posters. So it all started like that. And most of the cricket that initially I learned was by watching cricket on TV, and probably my father used to play along with me summer vacations. He would come and play with me if I wouldn't find anyone to play alongside. So he made sure that, we were focused on pursuing our education, getting a good degree. So I have had a professional degree. I'm an electrical and electronics engineer. So it was only in my second year of engineering when the BCCI merger happened. The women's cricket merged with BCCI. Only in the second year of that, I started playing cricket. And we had a really good bunch of youngsters. I mean, I used to enjoy playing alongside them. There were many of the girls who I played along. They were more talented than me, but probably I perceived a little harder. And to tell you the truth, it was very difficult having a professional degree and to pursue a sport like cricket along with it was difficult. I still remember it taught me time management. I'll be forever thankful to my engineering degree because the degree, the kind of schedule I had at that time, it was very difficult. Mornings I used to get at 5:30, go to the gym, get back to the college, attend the morning lectures, then come back, have the evening net sessions with my friends, with my teammates, come back, finish my assignments. So it was very difficult. So all the support that I got from my parents, my sister, it wouldn't have been possible without their support. So in my second year of engineering, when I was 18, I started playing cricket. And within 2 years, I was playing for board president's 11 against the touring England team. That was 2010. I played a one-off season ball tournament when I was 15. I had just completed my 10th standard then. So I played, at that time, Goa used to be in West Zone. So that was the only time I played. But then I was kind of more focused on my academics and cricket took a backseat then.
Very, very interesting. So pretty safe to say, I guess, during those years when you had gym and net sessions and studies, you got very little time for social life, probably just enough to catch up on sleep. But let me ask you a question. I don't know if you get asked this often, but having finished an engineering degree, I heard, I believe, in an interview, or I don't remember where I read it, that you got, some good job offers from companies coming out of engineering college, and decided not to take those. For middle class India, finishing a degree, getting a job, that stability is something many people are, chasing their whole life. So help me understand kind of that thought process when you said, I'm a qualified engineer. I got a good job offer from an MNC or a good company, but I'm going to turn it down to focus on my cricket career and eventually the Air Force. Like, that must have been a very tough decision, right? Or was it more that you knew that you had what it takes by that point to play for India, and that was what drove you?
No, it was difficult because I had only finished playing cricket for 2 seasons by then, and I was the one thing that I had already fallen in love with cricket. As a 5-year-old kid, yes, I mean, I used to do those mock interviews as if I was talking to presentator who was talking to me and all of that. I've done all of that. So there's this story I will never forget. The place where we used to stay in Goa, we used to have a lot of power cuts in the evenings. So I still remember my father would take me for walks on, starry nights with his transistor. And we would be discussing cricket as if we were the two most important people discussing cricket, and our opinions would be taken care of by people higher up. So that's the first memory I have of cricket. So, but I didn't really think there was a lot of women's cricket happening. To tell you the truth, I used to think I'm the only girl playing cricket probably when I was playing gully cricket and, playing cricket for leisure. But then I realized later when I started practicing that, there's good competition, and I wanted to then, because in the 2 years that I had played, I had already represented India in board president's 11 against England. And I actually wanted to go higher up and play for India by then. So after being placed in 3 companies, I actually took a year off, and it was difficult. Yes, I knew it would be difficult, but I actually found a lot of support from my sister, who initially was not in favor of me playing cricket. But then I was surprised when she actually sat down with my parents and she told them that if I have a dream and I want to pursue it, we should, let her do it because it's her dream to play for India now. So I found an alley there and we kind of persuaded my parents. I took a year off. And as a kid growing up, I always had these 2 dreams. I mean, I wanted to become an astronaut or a pilot, and I wanted to play cricket. So, when after I couldn't get into the India side, the 2011 season, the 10-11 season, I did really well, I think. But then I couldn't get into the India side. And as a kid growing up in Kendriya Vidyalayas, which were mainly in defense setup, I wanted to serve the nation as well. I mean, armed forces was something I thought I was made to become an officer. So that was the other dream. So my father insisted that I try. And then I don't know, but as luck has it, I cleared the Armed Forces SSB and I got into the Indian Air Force. And I've always believed that if it's written in your destiny, you will achieve it. It's just that you need to put in that amount of work. So it was difficult. It was very difficult because we came from a middle class family, and it was difficult for my parents, a difficult decision for all four of us. But then I'm glad that we took it. I mean, I guess the leap of faith is important somehow and somewhere in our life.
Yeah, I mean, I can safely say on behalf of Indian cricket fans across the country and the globe, we are all pretty glad you took that leap of faith for sure. So we couldn't be more thrilled to have you playing for the country. But I mean, honestly, not a lot of people get to achieve even one part of their dreams. But for you to, be playing cricket for India and be an Air Force officer is quite incredible. So let's talk a little bit now about the specifics of the cricket, right? So you said growing up, you bowled a little bit of slow bowling, you batted, you bowled a bit of quick. Indian women's cricket largely, I guess if you exclude Jhulan Goswami, who's an icon of the game, is largely spin driven, right? Like we inevitably have 3, sometimes 4, often up to 5 spinners in the side. What was that point when you made the decision to focus on quick bowling, and that, you in a team that's largely focused on spin, you wanted to be the quick bowler?
I wouldn't say that I wanted to be a fast bowler. Yes, I mean, as a kid growing up, I used to get up. I mean, I still remember 10th standard board exams. I would get up at 4:30 just to watch Ashes, or probably India was playing Australia. I would get up and watch those games, and I somehow would wait for the wickets package more than the batting highlights somehow. But then I never really thought I would become a fast bowler. There's this thing also, like I said, I mentioned about reading a lot of interviews. So I had read an interview about Sachin Tendulkar. I mean, of him saying that he wanted to be a medium pacer, but because of his height, he couldn't achieve that. I mean, he couldn't become a medium pacer. So at that time, I would have been 6 or 7 year old. And I said, no, that's not true. I mean, I'm also short, and I'll show him that I can become a medium pacer, as if, he's going to be proud of me that I became a medium pacer or something of that sort. But then I told myself, I will become a medium pacer. I'll become a fast bowler, not a medium pacer. So, I mean, that's one thing that kind of drove me to pursue being a fast bowler. But I would say that was all, I was being naive at that time, or I was a 5-year-old kid back then. So I wouldn't say that I started the first under-19 tournament that I played, I opened batting for my team. I played for Goa in the domestic circuit. I was the vice captain, and I actually got 3 half centuries in 5 games. So I would say I still take a lot of pride in my batting capabilities as well. Still, for the domestic side, I bat number 4. But probably I knew that somewhere down the line, if I have to make a name for myself and get into the India team, there's this lot of a good medium pacer, there, and I need to work towards that. I am a huge fan of, not many people talk about them, Rumeli Dhar and Amita Sharma. Amazing individuals, very good all-rounders. And the tournament that I debuted in, the 2014 World Cup and the Bangladesh series, she was dropped before that tournament. And I was actually disheartened because I wanted to play alongside Amidi. I have played alongside Rumidi in one of the T20 tournaments recently in 2018. But Amidi was a hero growing up. I mean, I always wanted to become a genuine all-rounder like her.
Very interesting. And then I would just want to ask you one more, when you think about being genuine all-rounder, but who bowls quick, at least as far as traditional cricketing wisdom it goes, they often say fast bowlers bowl in pairs, right? Whether you go back and think about in the men's game, Srinath and Prasad, or you think today, as we record this, England is playing West Indies.
Anderson and Broad.
Yeah, Anderson and Broad, right? Probably the most iconic fast bowling pair of our generation. You've now, since Jhulan has taken a back seat a little bit. Obviously, you bowled a lot with Jhulan Goswami in your earlier years of your career. But, in the latest T20 World Cup, for example, it was often you as the only quick with 4 spinners. Does that feel like just an added responsibility or burden? Or have you found kind of a rhythm and an operating partner with one of the spinners?
Initially, when Juluti retired from the T20s, I used to think I need to take responsibility and, I need to talking to the youngsters in the team, that has always been there. I mean, I have taken that up. I mean, I have learned that from Juludi. When I got into the India side, she was someone who I could speak to about anything on cricket, off cricket. And she was always there to advise me. She has been a mentor to me that way. And as a kid growing up, she was my idol, and to bowl alongside was a dream come true. So whenever I get to, in the T20 format, whenever I get to, work, bowl alongside the youngsters in the team, I make sure that we speak a lot. We talk about field placements and everything. So in 2018, when Juludi retired, I actually thought of that, what you said, that I need to take responsibility and everything. But then I realized it was just putting extra pressure. So there were a few spinners in the team who were senior to me. So then I realized in the game of cricket, as a bowler, you have your bowlers union, and with me, it was just me and the spinners, and I was fine with that. I mean, if I could contribute in any way, bowling in tandem with a spinner, not giving runs or probably taking wickets when they were choking the opposition for runs, I was okay with it. Probably we thought of it in this way, that whoever is the best out of the number of spinners or the medium pacers plays. So, I mean, that's fine. And it's just the way it is.
Yeah, very well said. And it's definitely non-traditional from a cricketing wisdom standpoint to have just the one quick bowler. But India, your side and the Indian women's side has seemed to make it work really well for us. So
the last time I remember playing 4 medium paces was in the 2014 test match. And I was so happy that we were playing 4 medium paces. I'm a big educator for medium pacers playing. I would want to play like 4 medium pacers in the team. So the test match that we played, we had 4 medium pacers, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I bowled one change, but the fun that we had as, 4 medium pacers on the field, talking to each other, giving each other inputs about how the wicket is and everything. It was fun. It was huge fun. And it helps a lot, because when Juludi bowls alongside me and she opens the bowling, as soon as she finishes her over and she's going down fine leg or third man, she will, just pass on some information about the wicket, how the wicket is playing, and it helps a lot. But then when you're just the one medium pacer playing and opening, you need to kind of adapt really quickly, because now in the T20 format, you do not really have that much time. So yeah, that's one thing that I miss.
Yeah, and I think it's just for our listeners who don't recall that test match. This is the 2014 test match versus England, and if I remember correctly, I think the 4 medium pacers took most of the wickets. I think Ekta Bisht was the single spinner and took 1 or 2 wickets in each innings. But Julan took a 4-4. You took 2 in each innings. So just absolutely right. Hopefully, we get back to a point where we have that kind of depth and the ability to play the seamers in the limited overs formats as well.
Yeah, we had a record of 20 dismissals in the test match, which we equaled the men's record for, those many LBW dismissals.
Wow. And again, worth mentioning that India won that game, right? So
yes.
Outstanding victory, great test match. I want to talk to you a little bit more about the formats and the future of the women's game, but we're going to take a quick break. We're in conversation with Shikha Pandey, and we will be right back.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money. Some really fun guests on the network this week. Cyrus welcomed Dia Mirza to come and have a conversation about all kinds of different things. Danny Morrison was on Edges and Sledges, the cricket podcast. If you haven't heard that, that's always a fun listen. And Raul Subramanian was on Football Should Fall to grow their ever more exciting list of guests. And it's not just that. Mantra Mugdha, old friend of ours, was on Advertising is Dead. Manu Pillai was on the Filter Coffee podcast. It's been one great guest after the other. And with that, let's get you on with your show.
Welcome back to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. If you're just joining us, we are in conversation with Shikha Pandey. Shikha, I want to now probably take you back to a little bit of a tough memory, and I want to talk about the 2017 World Cup final. And so I'm sorry to have to make you relive this one, but I ask this largely because for many, many fans across the globe, Indian cricket fans rather, that's probably one of the first few times India's support, India's viewership numbers really, really surged for the women's game, which is awesome. But I distinctly, again, as a fan on the sidelines, distinctly will always remember, I think there was 3 overs left and you walked into the crease and I think it was still attainable. We needed 14 from 18 balls and then that run out happened, right? So Again, I apologize for making you relive what's probably a tough memory, but talk us through what that was like, right? The immense pressure walking in there at a World Cup final with 14 runs needed, and then, just hitting it to a fielder and getting run out. What was going through your mind at that time?
I'm someone who watches a lot of my cricket videos after a tournament finishes, but I have not gone back and watched the videos of the final. But then I've learned a lot from that match. When I went into bat, I remember we needed 28 runs, if I'm not wrong, and we actually got 14 of them in pretty good succession. And I had Deepthi playing alongside me. There was a miscommunication and the run out happened. And probably that's one memory that will have to live with, because many people ask me about the 2020 World Cup and the 2017 World Cup, and which was more sad, or which was more heartbreaking. I would say the 2017 World Cup, because for the first time we were playing, I was playing in the finals of an ODI format or any T20, because any World Cup for that matter, because I had played in the 2014 and the 2016 World Cup and we had not qualified. But to get to the semifinals and have that amazing game against Australia and go to the finals, and we were so close to winning it, and that is what hurts, because it was not a one-sided game. It was very close, and it went. We lost by some 8 runs. So yes, we were all heartbroken. Firstly, because we had worked so hard to get to where we wanted to, and we knew that as women cricketers, and as when we spoke about this, we wanted to inspire a 5-year-old girl and inspire all those girls who wanted to take up cricket professionally, because that had never been the case before, because the World Cup got a lot of it was seen and the matches were televised. We knew that we had a lot of support, so we just wanted to do it for women's cricket in India. To tell you the truth, many people do not understand when Mithali Di, Julu Di started playing cricket, or the cricketers before them, the kind of hardship that they had to go through and the struggles. They had a really bad time playing cricket for India, and they played probably just for the passion of the sport. But to be able to reach so close and not to win the World Cup, not to lift the trophy was heartbreaking. And like I said, we were on a journey to achieve something and to do good for women's cricket in India. And probably we were able to give that platform to women's cricket in India by getting to the 2017 World Cup. So probably that was the plus. And I've always believed that, every match that you play is a learning curve. And it was hard, but then I've learned a lot from the losses that I've seen in my career, more than the success that I've seen.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Really well put. And again, for those of us who are a little bit closer and had been following more, it was worth reiterating how massive an accomplishment it was for that side, to reach the finals, compared to, at the time, England and Australia had a much longer history of women's cricket, much stronger infrastructure, etc. So, but do you feel like that was a turning point? Was the energy in the dressing room palpable when you realized how many people were watching it, or coming home from the 2017 World Cup when you got the reception you guys did? Was that a turning point for the game, in your opinion?
I think so, yes. The 2017 World Cup, and we finished runners-up, it was a turning point for women's cricket in India. The kind of surge I saw in the number of girls wanted to get into academy to pursue cricket was amazing. I for one was amazed by the increase in number of girls going to academies, number of girls who wanted to watch us play, and lot of girls who came out and said that they would want to pursue a career in sports, in cricket, and they would want to become a Mithali Raj or Jhulan Goswami, which is amazing. At the end of the day, when you look back and when you finished your career, the one thing, yes, World Cup, obviously you would want to be a World Cup winner, but then if you've been able to inspire a few girls, that's that is an achievement. And I think we were able to inspire a lot of girls with our performances in 2017 World Cup.
I think you're a lot more humble than you ought to be, given your accomplishments. I think there are lots of young girls who are running into bowl with a massive jump, wearing the headband and saying, "I want to be Shikha Pandey someday." So I'm sure of that. But let me jump ahead then. Obviously, an interesting kind of up and down couple of years for women's cricket between 2017 and then 2020 rolled around. going into the tournament, it was pretty clearly, so this was the T20 World Cup, pretty clearly outlined by all the experts, all the pundits, etc., that Australia were the favorites, right? They had, just an outstanding squad. They had, like I said, the best infrastructure in the game, etc., the best domestic setup, the Big Bash for women for a few years now, etc. And then in the first game of the World Cup, the Indian women's team shows up. You yourself pick up 3 for 14, and India basically crushes Australia and goes on to go undefeated in the group stage. What was that experience like, and that was likely probably an unexpected victory, right, early on?
Yes, we had been to Australia probably a month prior to the World Cup, more than a month. We were there in mid-January, if I remember. We were supposed to be playing a tri-series against England and Australia, and we actually lost the tri-series finals against Australia. And we had a fair knowledge of what these guys would bring to the table, and the same with England. The first game, I would say, was very interesting because when we went into bowl, we thought we had at par total on that pitch. The pitch was a slow wicket, and we knew as soon as we went in that the batters had given us a fair idea that the ball was not coming onto the bat properly, not that well. So we knew that if we could get a few of their batters, the top 2 or 3, we were in with a chance. And it was an amazing feeling. Firstly, it was the first match of the World Cup, and to have the kind of support that we did on the Sydney Showdown grounds was amazing. And Poonam Yadav, we call her PY. The spell that she bowled was, she was coming back from a finger injury, and to be able to come back and bowl the way that she did was amazing. I would say it is the best opening match that we could have wanted for a World Cup, for the T20 World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we as fans, unfortunately, since that World Cup, all the cricket has stopped. I want to just quickly ask you before I ask you about the women's game, how have things been going for you during COVID-19, during the lockdown? Do you still get a chance to train at all, or are you itching to get back out there now?
No, I have been going to the academy and I've been training in isolation. So that's been going on well. I've set up a small gym at home, so been taking care. It's been raining here in Goa, so outdoor runs have been a little problematic. But then, I've been keeping myself fit. The initial 10 days or so were difficult when the lockdown started, but then I kind of had a routine and started following a timetable, so it became easier for me, 2 sessions in a day. And the kind of time I got to spend at home was a privilege, I would say, because I am posted up north, and I don't get to be home for this long ever. So I've been really, I would say I was lucky to be spending that kind of time with my parents, saw a lot of movies alongside them. I've never been home this long. So I've been lucky and just itching to get back onto the field and play cricket.
Hopefully not too long now, but time will tell when we'll get to see you in blue again representing India. But Shikha, I could spend hours talking to you about this fantastic stories, and just great for me to hear from you. And I'm sure our listeners love it, but I want to be respectful of your time. So I do want to ask about some of the discussion that's started recently about the women's game, right? It kind of kicked off with Sophie Devine and a couple of cricketers talking about, potential rule changes. And there was discussion about length of the pitch and the size of the ball and things like that. And, you came out very, very eloquently and released sort of a Twitter thread where you answered some of your questions and shared your point of view about growing the game and the role of the ball and the role of the pitch, et cetera. So do you want to share a little bit of your point of view with our listeners, and kind of, this was at the end of June. We're recording this at the end of July. Yes. What the response has been, et cetera, how the last month has been for you?
Firstly, not just now. I've been hearing about these changes. I wouldn't say every now and then, but people have been suggesting these changes just to make the women's sport, the women's cricket on the whole, more attractive. I've been reading and hearing a lot about the suggestions being made since probably June, and then as a kid growing up, I've always understood that not just women's cricket, but any sport in that matter, we need to understand that the field that we play at knows no gender. I am a firm believer in that. And like I mentioned in the tweet itself, the other thing that I believe is, you cannot compare women's cricket with men's cricket, and you should not compare any women's sport with men's sport for that matter. I have always been a huge believer of the fact that, for evolution to happen, we need to have patience. And like I said, we are evolving cricketers in terms of our power, our skills. And if you want to compare us with what we were in the early 2000s, I mean, if you want to do that, and you can see how the evolution that has happened. And there were a lot of other talks of, reducing the pitch and reducing the size of the ball. I've always believed that there should be a clear objective of why you would want to do that. For example, there was this suggestion of reducing the length of the pitch so that the medium pacers gain a little more speed, and also to hurry the batters, so have an upper hand. I am a medium pacer, and I can tell you that, I would want to clock 140 and have that in front of my name. But then that does not serve the purpose. There are a lot many other ways to do it. Have the field restrictions, the change in the field restrictions. We still have a batting power play after the first 10 mandatory, wherein we just have 3 fielders outside. So if you want to do it, there are a lot many more other ways by which you can do it. And also reducing the length of the pitch, you cannot really downright say no to it, but then we need to extensively think of where would you want to put these tweaks. Where everyone is open to experimentation, but we need to understand where can we put these tweaks in. Probably at school level cricket, because at domestic level cricket also we do not play as much, so the logistics will be a huge problem. So yes, I mean, it was something that I strongly felt about, and I wanted to come out and write. I am someone who writes a little as well. I have a blog post, but I'm not a frequent poster. So I kind of started writing a tweet, and I realized one tweet wouldn't suffice. So I wrote the whole thread, and I was amazed by the kind of response I got. The next day morning, I had so many retweets, and it was not just about getting positive responses. People just came out and voiced their opinion, which was amazing. And firstly, we need to understand the fact that if so many people are coming out and suggesting tweaks to make women's cricket more attractive, we need to understand that people are interested in women's cricket and they are trying to positively affect the sport.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, actually. The fact that your tweets, etc., triggered the conversation, right? Whether people agree or not, exactly as you said, there is conversation happening. There are people across the globe, from fans to young supporters to the obviously administrators who make the decisions, who are all at least now thinking about and talking about this. I want to just address 2 quick things. So first is, it's important to remind our listeners and, all fans of the game, March 8th, right, which is not that long ago, which is about a week before these lockdowns started happening, 86,000 spectators turned up in the MCG, right? And I don't know what the numbers were, but as you said in your tweet as well, several million watched live on their television sets. I was in the US at the time, watching at all odd hours of the morning to be able to watch that, right? So as we think about that, obviously women's cricket has the potential to be big, even without these rule changes. But then I want to ask, because you talk about investment as well, and that's a really important part of this, right? What are, outside of the logistics-driven rule changes, if you will, so pitch and ball, what are some of the things you, as one of the leading fast bowlers in the global game today, would like to see? So you've mentioned DRS, Nico, hotspot, those kinds of things that you'd like to see the investment in grounds. You mentioned briefly field restrictions. What are some of the other things you would like to see happen to keep driving growth of the women's game?
I mean, field restrictions was just, very technical, because we still have four fielders out after we finish the first 6 mandatory overs. And I'll tell you, it becomes very difficult if someone like Anisa Hilly is after you. So that's one another thing. I mean, it was just with regard to, the balance between the ball and the bat. That was the point that I was trying to make. But I am a firm believer that we need to market the sport really well. We had been to Australia, and the kind of work they had put in, the Watch Me campaign of theirs, 86,000, people had, 86,000 plus people had turned, had come to watch us play at MCG, which is amazing. WB sir, who has been on your podcast before, he actually spoke to us before the game, and he said, if I could cheat, I would want to turn up tomorrow and play instead of you guys, because it's such a once in a lifetime opportunity for you guys to be playing at G and to be playing in front of these many players, and it's a World Cup final. And I've always believed that. I had read this interview by Serena Williams where she said, do not compare my game with a Roger Federer, because if I am playing at the center court and not a single seat is empty, I have achieved what I've come here for. So if 86,000 people have come in and watched us play, so they love the sport and they want to watch us play. So that's something that I firmly believe in, and having those many people come in just kind of reinstated my belief in the sport that I play. And like I said in the tweet, we need to have a lot of grassroots level investments being made, a lot of tournaments for the school kids. That's the way ahead. I mean, that's how you are going to, tell this 5-year-old kid that, you take up the game professionally. There is a future in it for you. So according to me, it is all about investments, marketing the sport really well, and the grassroots level, having more tournaments for the kids, for the girls.
Very, very well said. And I love that you drew the parallel to Serena Williams, right? Because obviously tennis is a great example of a sport that over time now, most of the Grand Slams are equal pay for men and women. I've never seen a Serena Williams match with an empty seat in the house. And so I can safely say, as a fan of the game, two things. One, we hope that women's cricket continues to grow on the trajectory it has. But also, secondly, everything that you and the rest of the women's squad is doing right now for the Indian women's cricket game is absolutely outstanding. We want to see lots more of it. We, on this show, have debated a lot about a women's IPL and how quickly we want to see it. We've talked a lot about better telecasting, etc. So, Shikha Pandey, it has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. We are, just like you are dying to get back out there, we are all very, very keen to see you wear the India jersey again, get back out there, firing in your in-swingers. And we hope to hopefully someday have you back on the show again. I definitely hope there will be T20 leagues where we see you play a part. And again, thank you for being a vocal presence in the sport and driving for good, healthy discussion about the future of the women's game. Shikha Pandey, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure to talk cricket. I'm someone who loves talking cricket. So thanks a lot for having me, and take care. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of another wonderful episode in conversation with Shikha Pandey. Just great to chat with her about her views on with the women's game and obviously her experiences too. As always, we will release another new episode in about a week's time. And of course, since we last spoke to you, we've also learned that the IPL has announced its return date on the 19th of September 2020. We are incredibly excited. Under 2 months away. Lots of great IPL content coming your way soon. So be sure to keep following us on social media. We're at One Tip One Hand on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. The next time Varun, DJ, and I are all together again, we will be talking lots and lots about the IPL, lots more cricket coming up in England. So we love to connect with you guys. We'd love to hear feedback from you. Send it all in at One Tip One Hand on social media. Contact at One Tip One Hand is the email address. And we will be back next week. Thank you very much.
रिश्ते में तो हम तुम्हारे पॉडकास्ट लगते हैं. नाम है फुटबॉल शुटबॉल. Presenting Football Shotball, a show about 3 friends discussing our favorite game over a beer. Sometimes 3, maybe even 5. Hi, I'm Shiva, and with me are my 2 sidekicks, Gaurav Sapre and Karthika here.
Sidekick? You mean like Batman's Robin or Van Persie Robin?
No, I mean like Alexis Sanchez, but with a little more skill than just playing the piano.
Ha! Just shows how the best players at Arsenal are mere bench warmers at United.
Oh, thank you, Ayer. But you're a Fulham supporter, so whenever you say anything to support me, I question my beliefs.
Just like how Griezmann would say, एक बार मैंने जो decision ले लिया, तो मैं अपने आप की भी नहीं सुनता.
Banter aside, we will talk match reports, transfer rumors, top controversies, fantasy football picks, and so much more. So grab a beer and tune in to Football Shotball every Wednesday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, Don Bradman, and now Cyrus Brocha. Okay, probably not in the right company. I mean, Don Bradman is Australian. But it's called Cyrus Says, a wonderful show about everything. Find the show on the IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts.